data core.
I've come here too. Smart.
Your approval means everything to me.
Welcome, everybody, to Deep Space Pride, a gay Star Trek podcast. My name is Mike Thurlow. I am one of your hosts, and with me is my co-host, Johnson Lee. Johnson, how are you doing?
That was a very energetic intro compared to how you were like 3 minutes ago.
This is my show face. I'm putting on my show face.
I'm doing okay. I am mustering the energy to do this as well. It's been a long day, but I'm here and I'm ready. My body is ready.
And so is mine. So we are super excited. It's been a couple of weeks and we have been chomping at the bit to talk about the Discovery season finale. And so we are going to jump right into it and spill some Trek on...
I am excited. I feel we are going to have differing opinions. I'm just going to say that now before you...
All right.
We have not talked about this, by the way, for our listeners. We have held off on talking about the finale. Like, there's been a few things here and there, as you guys have heard from previous episodes, but then we'll stop ourselves. But anyway, yes, why don't we get into spilling the Trek?
Disconnection. That's how this future began. One moment in time, it radiated outward until no one even remembered that connection was possible anymore. But it is. The need to connect is at our core as sentient beings.
That Hope Is You part 2.
I mean,
sorry,
what part is it? Part 5? Like, how many of these types of episodes do we need? Anyway.
Well, so I didn't know right off the bat, that Hope Is You part 1 opened the season, and then when that wasn't the next episode, part 2 wasn't the next episode.
Yes,
I kind of figured it was going to bookend the season. So here we go. Here's a brief description, brief from CBS All Access, season finale. Thank you, CBS All Access.
Sorry about that. I need to check my notifications. Continue.
Okay. Season finale. As the Emerald Chain tightens its grip and the mystery of the burn is finally solved, Burnham and the crew have one last chance to save themselves and the Federation. Dun dun dun.
One final chance. Goodness.
Stakes
are high.
So I'm excited because you preface this. We have some differing opinions. So let's start off with what are some of your thoughts on the season finale?
So I really did not like this episode. I was not a fan. I watched it twice. The first time, I have to say, I hated the episode. Hated.
Wow.
Yes. The second time, I hated it less. Like, I actually thought, okay, it's not that terrible, but it's fine.
Wow.
So I really did not like this episode at all.
Okay.
And there are multiple reasons. And this is a small reason, but this for me was... So the first time I watched this episode, I almost had a slight existential crisis as a Star Trek fan. It sounds very dramatic. But one of the main reasons why I really love Star Trek is how it does a great job. And it's not the most scientifically accurate sci-fi series. I would say The Expanse, which we've talked about at length recently, is probably one of the most scientifically accurate science fiction series in respect to what we understand about physics, things like that, right? One of the things I've really loved about Star Trek, particularly since the TNG era, I feel the TOS era was a little more loosey-goosey, was that there was a great respect for science and technology. And I think Michael Okuda did a great job. Like, he was the technical consultant on Star Trek, and he was basically the one to make sure that the universe had a set of rules that respected real world understanding of physics. And, he co-wrote the Star Trek Technical Manual. And there were very hard and fast rules for how the world operated. And there are things like obviously that are imaginary, warp drive, things like that, but there are explanations for how it works. How can you travel faster than the speed of light? Well, you travel in a warp bubble, so you're not traveling in normal space. You get around like, the limits of, light speed. This is how we get around it. The problems of inertia. How do you stop a starship if it's going from almost light speed to zero, from everyone dying while you have inertial dampeners, right? There's all these rules, all these elements that make up this universe and the rules around the universe. And honestly, that's one of the things that I've loved most about Star Trek. That connection between what we understand about the world and this other science fiction world that we're not there yet, but can be one day. And I think that actually has inspired many people to pursue STEM, to really want to see how they can bend the rules of the known properties of the universe in order to advance humanity. Discovery is not that kind of Star Trek. Discovery plays very loose with science and technology and physics, perception of space, like, the whole sequence in the turbo lift shaft. Should we even call it a turbo lift shaft? Should we call it a turbo lift city? Like, what the fuck? That completely took me out of the episode. And this totally was a moment, and we talked about this again earlier in the season, when the CGI and the action and the amount that needs to go into the spectacular is more important than the character moments. And this scene completely, for me, it wasn't even that good an action scene, like, it was like all this spectacle, and I was like, this is like whatever, they're just punching each other, throwing people over in turbo lift shaft / city, it wasn't even good action. It was forgettable. But that's just one example, like there are just so many examples, like the whole burn thing, like it was dubious science, like, and we talked about this last week where, there was a narrative dissatisfaction rather with the whole burn. And I wish there was more to it. But the whole explanation, I was just like, oh my God, like, they just need to make up something. And I'm gonna have questions like, why didn't it affect the dilithium on the planet? Why is the dilithium on the planet fine? Why can they mine it? Let's just skip all these details and it's fine, no problem. Like, there's just so much science fiction out there now where, I think, unfortunately for me, Discovery has, I think the bad side about Discovery is sometimes this, they oftentimes just really focus too much on the spectacle. And a good contrast to this will be The Mandalorian, right? The Mandalorian does a really great job of marrying practical effects with CGI. It marries the two really well. And honestly, The Mandalorian finale, the most thrilling action that we saw was through like a black and white 4x3 inch screen, when Luke Skywalker is making his way through the corridor. And You don't need all the spectacle. You don't need the flashiness, right? But they just a great job, kind of just the presentation and the buildup was just so well done that they didn't need like all these special effects, you know? And going back to my original point, yeah, like the spectacle kind of overrides any sort of need for technical continuity, for science, for, you know, like I feel that, you know, I feel there's even a lack of like real, they don't even bother with like trying to come up with like legitimate technobabble anymore. Like at least in TNG, DS9, Voyager era, like they were trying to like rationalize it with technobabble that if you kind of tried to discern it, it was a little ridiculous, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, I can understand what they're trying to go for and how they're trying to explain this in a way that makes sense for our understanding of how the world and universe works. Discovery does not bother with that. They do not care. And for me, that's really unfortunate. You know, so I had this like legitimate existential crisis because I was just like, these scenes took me out of the episode so much. And I was like, but this is Discovery. You know, Discovery is about, there are character moments that we talk about, sure, but they favor the spectacle over what, you know, Rick Berman, Michael Okuda, whatever era of Star Trek used to be centered around in some ways, at least the basis of the universe and how the universe is built. So yeah, I did not like that aspect. It was just like, and we've seen the turboless shaft in past few episodes, and we even joked about it, but this is another level. This was like, they entered like Blade Runner. Like I was like, I don't know what the fuck is happening right now. It was so ridiculous. I hated it so much, like that particular aspect of it. The other thing that I did not like about this episode is, again, you know, Michael Burnham, our Lord and Savior, you know. Like we talked about this, like Tilly really came into her own as, you know, as first officer and as acting captain. And the moment that Michael enters the bridge, you know, Tilly is just like, you know, you need to lead us. I'm like, why? You know, why does Michael need to be the one to save the day? It wasn't even necessary. She didn't even do anything. She like, let's just eject the warp core. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, sure, whatever. And then of course she becomes captain. And I'm just like, ugh, what the fuck, whatever. You know, like I don't need Michael Burnham to be the savior of the Federation, of all organic life in the universe, and captain of Discovery. Like, this is so ridiculous. And again, one of the things that I really just love about classic Star Trek is how everyone, like almost every character gets their moment in the sun and they get to save the day. They almost, each person gets to save the day at some point. And in Discovery, it needs to be Michael. Michael, at the end of the day, needs to be the one to save the day. And I just am not a fan of that. Yeah, there, you know, I have many strong feelings about this, obviously, and I've complained about it at length throughout, honestly, this, you know, entire season. But honestly, it's an issue for me. I mean, the first season was, you know, was great. We were introduced to the universe, to the world, and I was all right, Michael Burnham, yes. And then second season, I was like, all right, I guess she also needs to be a Ray Angel. That's fine. And then this season, I was like, oh my God, like, you know, you need to continue this line of like, you know, it needs to be the same theme. I get it. She needs to save the Federation. She needs to save the universe, blah, 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 whatever. So, you know, for me, that's become tiring. It's become expected. And I don't need Michael Burnham to save the day anymore. You know, it doesn't need to be her. And now Saru is like basically retired to Kaminar. Hopefully he comes back. I'm sure he will. And he's filming. But hopefully he like, you know, he comes back to Discovery, whatever. I'm glad the secondary cast got something to do. Like, you know, they like, but then was it consequential? I don't know. There were other problems like Osira. I don't know why Osira like slowly decompressed those decks. There was no, you know, she could have just flushed them out. I don't understand. there were other things, like, you know, Osaru could have just killed them very easily. There was no reason for Osaru to slowly leak the oxygen out of, you know, everything deck 5 and under. There was no need. It's like one of those like villain things where I'm gonna kill everyone slowly and give them a chance to save the day, you know, dumb, whatever. The sphere data did nothing, like, you know, inconsequential, like contributed nothing. Saru was a gun, whatever, I don't care. The final battle between Osaru and Michael, like Osaru leaves a phaser gun, whatever it is, with Michael so Michael can shoot her way out of the programmable matter. Why do you leave the gun with your opponent? Like, you think she's dead, all right, let's leave her a gun so she can shoot herself out of there, and shoot you. Brilliant. You know, there's so many dumb things about this episode that I really did not like, and there are things I picked up on the second viewing that I would just like just dumb decisions, like anticlimactic, everything's tied up in a nice bow at the end. You know, Michael, you got to piece the Federation back together. You know, you're the only one that can do it. All right, whatever, I don't care. You know, I just don't care. So those were some of my initial thoughts.
It takes time, effort, and understanding. Sometimes it feels impossible. But if we work at it, miracles can happen.
What did you think about this finale?
Yeah, when you said we were going to have differing opinions, I did not expect to have really different
I told you
this chasm of differing opinions. Although, you know, there are certain things I agree with you on, maybe not to the extent that you don't like it, but
yeah, I don't know why this like episode first viewing, it really triggered me somehow. I was angry watching it.
See, for me,
and disappointed.
Yeah, for me, this was one of my favorite episodes, actually. And you know, and I've actually, and I told you before we started recording, I've watched like the last 10 minutes of this probably 8 or 9 times. Like, I just enjoy that those final scenes wrapping up the season, which do put a nice bookend on what we saw at the beginning of this season. But I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it had a lot of great action, a lot of, you know, you do point out some things, and I you know, you have kind of shown a big light on the fact that there is sort of an abject disregard for science in Discovery to some extent. And you know, to be fair, that may have even started somewhat when they came up with the initial idea that this ship had a spore drive.
Oh,
I mean,
yes, the spore drive. Don't get me started on the spore drive.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, I felt like
I was like, okay, fine, like, you know, like that. I think like the spore drive, I was so enamored by there was a new Star Trek. I was like, all right, I'll take it, whatever. Like, it's a little ridiculous. It, you know, it makes no sense.
I think that the technical or the techno babble that explains the spore drive is actually not much different than any other techno babble that we've had in Star Trek. So,
but the thing about warp drive is that there are limitations to it. You know, the spore drive literally are no limitations to where it can pop up anywhere. Like, and that presents physical issues, like in the way that physics works. Like, you can't, like, if you literally like pop up anywhere else in the universe, you can literally be in 2 places at one time. Like, there are like all these problems with that. Like, I don't know, like, and it doesn't make sense. It makes no sense. Like,
okay, well, I mean, you know, we're not here. Let's not debate the spore drive. You know, whatever. But I do agree, and I've had a problem with, and maybe not to the extent you do, but I did have a problem with the scenes with the turbo lift that you know, definitely bothered me. It did take me out of it a little bit because it was just too much. But I don't know. I really enjoyed the way that there were a lot of great character scenes in this episode.
Sure.
A lot of if you set aside some of the implausibility of what happened to some extent, and I did accept the reasoning of the burn, the cause of the burn, and how it's one person's fault, and the way that he was born and being surrounded by subspace and dilithium caused this great burn. I get it. I think
I get whether it's just like so dubious, but I'm like, okay. I mean, like the thing is, like the payoff was just not. Oh,
well, I mean,
watch his
yeah, and
mother
I've
die.
heard differing opinions on this. Yes, the payoff isn't great for something that they built up so much during this season. Like, what is the burn? But also, to be honest, the burn coming into I'm thinking psychologically for these characters, right? So psychologically for these characters, they're coming to the 32nd century. They're expecting things to be much better. Instead, they find them much, much worse. The Federation is on the brink of collapse. There is this thing that killed millions of people and destroyed thousands of starships.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we jump to a point where it's been 125 years or so since the burn, and this generation of people are simply just trying to get by, like them trying to figure out what happened to the burn 125 years later isn't going to happen. Just like we're not going to go back and try to figure out what happened on January 6th, 2021, 125 years from now.
But
We're not
somehow
going to do
Michael
it.
Burnham pieces it all together.
Well, I mean, so having an outside perspective and having an expectation of you're coming into a world where you're 1,000 years in the future and you expect things to be better and they're not, and the ideals that you've lived for and died for to be completely disappeared isn't exactly the right word, but diminished so greatly that it's a shell of itself. Trying to figure out these things, it makes sense. I mean, this is a science vessel. Interestingly enough, after we've had all this talk about their pseudoscience and things like that, but this wasn't, Discovery was a science vessel from the beginning. So it's crewed by scientists. Michael has been a scientist her whole life. So I think from a psychological standpoint, it makes sense that this crew wants to make a difference. They want to change. They want to improve because this is not the future that they expected. And they gave up everything and to be there. They didn't just give up. I really took umbrage with Stamets saying that they did it to be with her. That they came to the future for her. They came to the future, yes, so she wouldn't be alone, but also they came to the future because the Discovery needed to go to the future in order to be safe, and they needed a crew, and she was going to go alone, and they decided to go with her. But in reality, you all saved the past. You saved the fate of the galaxy, and so I really didn't like that piece of what Stamets. Obviously, Stamets was extremely upset and said
he was very upset. I mean, there's truth to it. I mean, they didn't have to come. I mean, Hugh.
Right. Everyone had a choice. And
Hugh the Enterprise, he didn't have to come.
Yeah. I mean, so I just think that it's really important to put into perspective some of the psychological things that this crew is expecting to come into and how it wasn't there. And they want to find out why, because they're a bunch of scientists and are curious and want to solve a issue. And it also becomes imperative for them to contribute and help figure this out. They have a vessel that can get around what's happened, so there's that. So there's a lot of little pieces, I think, that are important to this, and psychologically I can understand more about it. But so I mean, I really enjoyed the episode. I mean, I didn't like the turbo lift. We can get into that, but there were some really great, I don't know, man,
and I like.
Well, I mean, all right, hold on.
I like the last episode. because the whole Osara thing. And I feel in this episode she became kind of one-dimensional again. I thought that was disappointing too.
Well, I mean, she is a baddie. She kills people. She wants it her way. Her ego got in the way of things. Yeah, she became a three-dimensional character, but in the end, it's her ego that undoes her. Like, because she wouldn't, meet that one criteria of turning it over and sacrificing herself for the future of the chain. That was her decision. So yeah, she became a one-dimensional character because she went back to killing people and doing everything that she said that she wasn't going to do if the Federation signed this treaty. So I think that, as far as baddies go, yeah, I mean,
Sorry, I interrupted you. You were gonna say something else.
well, I mean, it's hard because, we're kind of stuck right now in this loop of talking about all the things that aren't right with this finale, but I really did love it. I really did, I did love the moments, where the crew, yeah, I mean, there are some things that didn't carry over, the sphere data, it did help them advance somewhat on the ship. And obviously, the OOs being saved, which I think was great by one of the .23s, is is a testament to the sphere data a little bit. That they really came together as a crew. They made the decision not to give up. So I thought it was a really ingenious thing. Michael broadcasting that little tip to Tilly, Tilly putting it together, Tilly saying, I've got to do this. The rest of you don't, unless you want to. And then they get to work and they do it. And then they're all dying in the corridor. And Oo, who, earlier in the episode said I can hold my breath for 10 minutes, makes sense. And it's great for Oo to be able to take that leap. So that's great. She's the hero that brings the Discovery out of warp, and doing that. And I do think that there is somewhat of a savior complex, which has been actually joked about somewhat in the episode not in the episode, in this season, by Book being like, you're a bunch of overachievers, your family. She is, absolutely. But you got to remember too that she's number one on the call sheet. This show is built around her, so it's not,
but that's also the case for past like Star Trek shows. Like you have
it is and it isn't. The past shows were built around a captain and a crew. This was built around a character,
but she doesn't
joined
need
a crew.
to be the savior of the universe like every season. Like, this is my issue with it. It's okay if she's a lead, like, she's the lead, that's fine. But the entire fate of the universe / the Federation doesn't need to ride on her shoulders like every time.
She's an overachiever. That's the way it works for overachievers.
It's not just her overachieving. It's also like, I feel there's this whole like idea of fate, that she's fated to become great. That even like, I think it's definitely been hinted throughout the series that she has like, there's this idea of like destiny, and greatness. Like even like most recently, like
I would call it living up to potential. I wouldn't say that it's about destiny. I would say it's about living up to your fullest potential. But
it's somehow like all these circumstances revolve around her. It's not just like her kind of doing her best. You know what I mean? It's like things literally revolve around her.
It's the hero's journey. I mean, it's clearly, this is a trope that's built into every story in all of creation. I mean, it is, the hero who falls and gets back up, and, the journey that person goes on. And this is, honestly, this is a great kind of end to one journey for her, because she never did, only for a brief moment did she ever feel worthy of being the captain. Otherwise than that, until this very end. And if you notice, and I picked up on this, she never sat in the captain's chair ever. But she is a commander, and it makes sense for Tilly to say, you lead us. I mean, she led them into this future, first of all, on a jetpack with a time crystal. So it makes sense that they're still going to follow her. And Tilly is one, first of all, she's just, just almost died. Second, she is an ensign, and we have a commander on the bridge who's got a few ideas, who defers to her because she's acting captain, and she says, no, you know what, we need, I want you to lead. And that's totally fine. You know what, the piece that pisses me off about all of this, that I'm actually more upset about, is that Tilly should have been the first officer for Michael, and she was in the in the production. Maybe not. She was wearing red. Tilly was wearing red. If you see behind the scenes pictures, she was wearing red, and they digitally made it into blue because they didn't want to be pigeonholed into
where
in post-production. So in certain shots, behind the scenes shots, you see Tilly's color on her new uniform is red, not blue.
In the last scene?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
So
I hate those uniforms, by the way. You had said that you don't like the uniforms, and then when I saw it on the Discovery crew, I was like, oh god. On everyone else, I was actually fine with it, and then once they put it on Discovery crew, I did feel that it was very bland looking.
I mean, I like it. It's it's a little more upscale. It's kind of like the uniforms in Star Trek 2 when they kind of stepped it up and made it a little bit more formal looking. So that's the way I look at it. Is it's a kind of a step up.
You originally said that you didn't like them though.
Originally I didn't, but I liked the way that they looked. I don't know how practical it will be in action scenes for this, that kind of uniform, but I do think they all looked great in them. And I actually, I changed my mind when I saw it on the Discovery crew. Okay. I thought they looked good in it. My only take on it is how practical is it to kind of move around. It looks a little
stiff.
It's like their formals, like military officers have their daily uniforms and then they have their formal uniforms. And this looks like their formal uniform, kind of like if they were expecting ambassadors or whatever. So that's my only issue with it.
But kind of like 3D printed into them. It's very.
Yeah. It's the process. If you've watched any of the behind the scenes things with Gersha Phillips, the work she does on this is incredible. But going back to Tilly, so she had a red uniform on, and they digitally changed it in post production back to blue. So and I was kind of disappointed there weren't a whole lot of shots of Tilly in that final scene. In fact, I would say that she got the least amount of screen time in that final scene over everyone else on the bridge. And so I was really disappointed with all of that, with that piece of it. It's fine. I understand that they may want to change it up in the next season, and rather than kind of create that disappointment or whatever, they just kind of did it here. But so I was kind of bummed about that, but I really enjoyed those final scenes. So like I said, I've watched the last 10 minutes of it many, many times.
That's so funny.
From the time that they get back, from the time that the Discovery flies into the Federation headquarters, and all the ships are there lined up greeting them as they arrive, and then from there, she beams, there's kind of an overview, or she talks about disconnection and connection, which is, a great theme to talk about, and if you look back, now that you hear kind of the ending, that whole piece, you look back, it is all about disconnection and connection. And what more apropos theme can you possibly have in 2020, 2021 than connection and disconnection? So I really liked that. We got to see the Trill president come to the Federation. They rejoined. We got to see the Navarre president.
I don't remember her name.
Yes. Tarina, I think is her name. She came back. That was cool to see. Also to see that, I didn't pick up on it before, but the new salute, the new Vulcan salute, which is like the Vulcan salute and then over your heart.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting to see. But then she gets to see Lieutenant Sahil when she beams over.
I was like, Oh,
That
hey,
was
haven't seen you in a
great.
while. Like, I feel like it was such a big deal, like for him in the premiere, and then he just ghosted us. Like he was just gone.
Well, he was on a remote outpost thousands of light years away.
Yeah, I'm
Who
just
know
like,
who
oh, where did
knows?
this turkey go?
Yeah. So he got to come back. So that was a nice kind of bookend to that. Her, the conversation between him and Michael was great. You found your way home, Lieutenant Sahil, because he always wanted to be part of Starfleet. So that was great. And then just the conversation, and I've heard other people on our network talk about the Dadmiral, and Oded for here is great in this role, and it's great to have an admiral that you can actually like.
That
You may
isn't
not like him
evil,
all. You may not. Yeah, that isn't
or
evil
or a conspirator, or
or
whatever,
something.
or just a jackass, really.
So I think that that was the conversation that he had with her. I mean, it makes sense. We didn't even talk about the nebula, but it made sense that Saru wouldn't come back for a while. He's
Mm-hmm.
gonna help Sukal. That made sense to me. So
It did make sense. I wasn't happy with it
sure,
because I don't need Michael to be captain, but it made narrative sense because yeah, he needs, Sukal
yeah.
needs someone to kind of guide him.
Yeah, and then the admiral asking her to be captain, I thought that was now and not wait for Saru. I thought that was, I just enjoyed that whole sequence, and then her coming on the bridge, captain on the bridge. Are you ready to go?
I was
Yes,
like,
captain.
eye roll for
Everybody.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
know.
then let's
I loved
fly. I
it.
was like, all right, whatever.
Let's fly. I loved it. That was
Oh,
great.
really? I
Yeah.
did not
No,
like it.
that was great. Let's fly.
I hated it.
And you know what? You know what? I mean, yeah, it's just perfect to see her in the captain's chair, honestly. Um,
I know you've been lobbying for that, and I was like not a fan of the
well,
idea.
and I think, yeah, and I know that there are people in the camp, in camp Captain Saru, and sure, that's fine, and Saru is and will be a great captain, and or whatever he decides to do. But honestly, like having a black woman captain of a show, I think is powerful. And I think it speaks to a lot of the things that we need to see right now. And Star Trek is a lens for looking at our present situation through a different lens. And I think that seeing her in the captain's chair is absolutely brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
She looked great. It made me love Sonequa even more. Let's Fly was awesome. And if you did watch the Ready Room, but just coming up with that, she tried out several different things, and then she got the script, and Let's Fly was in there, and she was like, "That's perfect." So I thought it was just a really great ending. Like it reminded me of what Star Trek is and what it has been and is, and it's just hope for the future, reunifying people, bringing things from disaster to redemption, all of those things. So I mean, I really enjoyed it. The other pieces that I really enjoyed were the Adira, Gray, and Hugh moments
Mm-hmm.
on the planet, and just the way, I wouldn't say I had a crush on Hugh Culber, but in these last couple of episodes, I've definitely I really like Wilson Cruz. I really like him. He's a great
Mm-hmm.
guy, an activist, speaks his mind, is sexy as hell, looks great. And I kind of liked him for all those reasons. And then seeing him hugging Adira and Gray, and just this natural, like fatherly piece to it was really touching. And you know and seeing them back on at the end when Stamets is back, and their kind of reunion, and obviously the stink eye. Everyone's talking about the stink eye that Stamets gave Michael, whatever.
That was like so funny.
And all the views of him are like, on the bridge afterwards, and
Yeah, I know. It's just like
just
side eye.
but then you know they show Paul and then they show Hugh, and Hugh's got this big wide smile, and you know, so you know I have a huge crush on Wilson Cruz after these last couple of episodes.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I thought he was great. I thought, you know, seeing the bond between him and Adira and Gray, and just come to life, and I loved how all of them, just when they saw him, didn't think anything of it other than they were happy to see him. They didn't, you know, and I had
Gray.
predicted,
Gray.
yeah, Gray, yeah, and I had predicted that maybe the holographic thing something would happen, and
Yes.
I mean I was correct about that.
Correct.
But I was also really sad to see him kind of dissolve away as the holo program ended. That was really sad. But he did look really good as a Vulcan. I will give him that. You know, I kind of wish he was a half human Vulcan, because that outfit on him looked really great. And yeah, just a lot to love. So hopefully our listeners have come this far to hear me say all these great things that I've loved about this episode. The action scenes, so that, the big piece that we do agree on is really like the vastness. Dan Davidson loves to call it the TARDIS of the interior of Discovery. He calls it the TARDIS. Yeah. And I agree. Like, I too am a fan of the technical manuals and the deck layouts and all of those things that, I've always enjoyed. I have them there in storage back in Massachusetts. All the technical manuals from the original series all the way through. I don't think I have the Voyager one. I don't even know if they made one.
One was actually published.
So I have them all. I've loved them. They've been a huge part of my growing up with Star Trek. So to kind of see, and also when you were talking about it, I was thinking back, I was like, turbo lift shafts are so important. Like, think about think about Star Trek V, think about the episode, which I can't think of the name of, and you probably will the minute I tell you what it's about, with the kids and Picard in the turbo lift. Disaster. I mean, those are the things that fans like us live for. I think that the way that Star Trek Discovery is right now, it's much more cinematic, and so these vast things and these CGI effects are over the top and look like movie level CGI effects, and that's fine. But I've really, I did have a real problem with that.
But in this case, it was like unnecessary,
Yeah, they could have figured out other way. Yeah, I mean, they're the only reason that they really did that part that I could see is so that you could see Zara falling to his death.
Whatever.
Which, giving a
like
character
40 stories below, I was like, whatever.
Yeah, like giving a character, honestly, who is a piece of shit, to be honest, a nice, beautiful CGI death scene was unnecessary.
Yeah. It was literally a 40 story fall for a ship that, like 15 decks.
Yeah, exactly. So so I definitely have some problems with that. I really do wish that they would make a technical manual, stick
or they
to
just
it.
Need a technical consultant. Like, I could be on set. I can be like in a production room, like, this is wrong. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I don't know why they decided to go this route with it. They sort of stuck with it up until this season when they got to this 32nd century version of it. I mean, the programmable matter is cool, but seeing these turbo lifts, I don't even know what they're called, gateways, magnetic gateways appear out of nowhere, seemed over the top and unnecessary. And I would have I would have just been as happy if Zara had fallen down a turbo lift shaft and been crushed by a turbo lift. And first of all, there's no crew on there, so the turbo lifts should all be like not moving.
I know, they're all like milling about.
Yeah, so there's a lot of little things like that that I agree bothered me, but you know, in the computer core, I didn't see her kind of my impression of the gun that
So they're fighting over the
Michael.
gun. They're fighting over the
I
gun.
thought the gun was long gone at that point.
No, they're fighting
It
over the
wasn't.
gun, and they're like, I watched.
You watched it closely, yeah.
They're struggling
I
with
didn't.
it, and then she pushes Michael into the programmable matter, and then she doesn't, and then Osaru doesn't have a gun.
Yeah,
So-
and I paid more attention on my second full viewing or third full viewing, whatever it was, on that scene in particular, just to see, like, just observe what was happening with Michael in that programmable matter and how she was pushing her into it, and where, like, because she comes out and spits it out, and so I watched it go in, like they made it go into her mouth as she's being pushed in. So but I totally missed the gun piece. So what I thought, and what they all have, are these guns that disappear and reappear on their wrists. So I thought that's, you know, she was in there, she activated it and shot.
So that she used earlier, she overloaded that earlier to get Stamets out.
Oh, right. So yeah. So I missed that, but yeah, I thought that was yeah, I had a little bit of a problem with Osiris' death. I mean, I wasn't sad that she was dead. Don't get me wrong there.
No, I wasn't sad. I was just like, I was like, all right, whatever.
You know, she did kill Rin, who was a perfectly cool and interesting character, point blank range, on you know, in a nanosecond. So she did torture Book. She did almost knock out Aurelio, or did she did knock out Aurelio,
Yeah,
practically,
she like
choke him to death.
Whatever.
Yeah, so, you know, I have no sympathy for Osiris' fate at all. Yeah, the shooting out of the programmable matter.
And then the other thing is like, yeah, this goes back to the whole thing where everything's tied up nice and neat. It's like the emerald chain was inconsequential. You know, like, oh, Osiris gone, so the emerald chain's also gone. I was like, this is a massive organization.
Well, I don't think it's gone. I think it fell apart and probably went into several different factions. I'm thinking of like when an emperor of Rome was killed, didn't mean that that the Roman Empire dissolved. I mean, it just went into different factions. So I think that we'll see pieces of the Emerald Chain for quite some time, because they're all going to be squabbling over what little power they have and have had. So I don't think it's gone. I just think it fractured.
Given that it's Discovery, I also think it's highly likely that we are never going to see the Emerald Chain again.
Yeah. I mean, I hope not. I hope that they kind of keep the continuity. And, I also think that there at least needs to be a conversation between Michael and Paul.
Yes. We talked about it last time.
We
definitely need to have a talking to.
Yeah. I mean, it's understandable, but she did the right thing. And the Admiral, and watching this final episode, the Admiral sending him off as well. He sent them completely the other direction. He sent him on the Foresight, which is a transport ship that's going the other way with everyone else. So the Admiral agreed with her decision. So he just needs to get over himself.
Well,
honestly.
Again, he was kind of acting emotionally. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
not that that's necessarily an excuse, but he wasn't.
No, absolutely. No, it's certainly understandable.
That state of mind.
Yeah, it's certainly understandable. I mean, it's he didn't agree with Hugh going down there in the first place, so he was definitely already on heightened alert from all of that. But yeah, I think that it was a little harsh of him to say, basically, F you, Michael, like, we came here because of you, like spewing every nasty little piece of gossip and whatever out of his mouth to think that that's going to change what's going to happen, because it's not. So but I do hope they addressed it. I hope it doesn't take too long, but let it fester. I think that would be detrimental to the character himself. and hopefully, Hugh will help him kind of get through that piece. But they are in Starfleet, and I'm sorry, but danger is part of the job.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is. If you want to retire and leave Starfleet, then leave it. But so yeah, so I thought, I think those are most of my thoughts. And yeah, I'm definitely disappointed about Tilly being kind of like at the end, kind of pushed aside. And if you watch those ending scenes closely, as I have, there's really no clear shot of her, and I think it's because
Oh, it's interesting.
I think it's because she was wearing red, and they didn't want to do that. So anyway, but I thought it was a great bookend to the season. I thought that obviously like I said at the top of the show, that Hope Is You Part 2 was always going to be the finale after it wasn't episode 2. So yeah, I thought it was. I will definitely go back and watch this again. I think this is an exciting new chapter, having a Black woman as captain. And I obviously Saru is back. We saw him and Michael both post. Him and Doug Jones and Sonequa both post that they were back filming. So I think some of the other crew have also posted that they're back in Toronto. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with this next season. Yeah, and I hope for great things for Tilly, and hopefully maybe there's a promotion somewhere in there. Maybe she's Lieutenant Tilly by the time we come back to season 4. That would be nice.
Ensign forever.
So
Harry
yeah,
Quinn syndrome. We can call it.
We cannot have that happen ever again.
So sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still, it's funny like that we have such differing opinions. Like the quote at the end, the Gene Roddenberry quote, I did like that. And it actually made me feel something. But then I was like, I personally felt that it was kind of shoehorned in, this whole thing about connection. If you look back, I'm like, I can kind of see it. But at the same time, I'm like, I feel the writers, they were like, we need to wrap up the season somehow, and like we need something to like kind of tie it all together, and let's make it about connection, and let's insert this Gene Roddenberry quote. Because looking back, I didn't really see that. Like that didn't come up as like a through line for me upon watching like the earlier episodes. Like there really wasn't this like idea that like upon like like going back, I'm like, okay, kind of see that. But that was definitely not like a resident theme. Like, I don't think in any of the episodes that we talked about, like we were like, yeah, like this really seems to be, people seem to be really disconnected, like.
So I think that the main point where you kind of see that disconnection is when Michael rejoins the crew after a year. And there is that sense of disconnection all the way through Unification 3, when she kind of agrees to become part of the crew again and stay with Starfleet. So there is that, I think, that disconnection.
I felt more that, I mean, like, this, I kind of felt it was more not so necessarily disconnected, but she didn't know what her role was, or where she like kind of fit in,
right? Yeah, fitting in.
It's a little bit different. Like it's like she didn't know, like, because her role and responsibilities were just so different over the course of the year where she wasn't with the crew, that she wasn't held by like Starfleet regulations and standards and stuff like that. So she had the chance to kind of just do her own thing, and kind of going back into this very disciplined model of work, and basically like mini society was like very off for her.
Yeah. Right. Well, so that also brought up one other thing for me around Book being on the bridge, which was nice. And also,
I was like, I guess he's a consultant, a lover.
Sure. I mean, sure. Captain's man. I mean,
I was like, I was like, all right. He's just like,
but also in this episode, we see that he is also able to drive the spore drive. So
yes, that is useful. So in
uh,
case Stamets ever gets a fit and is like, I don't want to be here anymore.
right. So
Take
we do
over.
have kind of that other piece of it. So that was good to see that piece of it kind of happen. And, you know, the whole warp core ejection thing, you know, people joke.
By the way, the Warp Core went through like 50 stories before it came out. Like, I don't know if you noticed the sequence, but I was like, oh, this is a long way out of the ship. Should be like right out, you know? But,
yeah. You know, yeah, again, technical manual issues. But yeah. So yeah, those are, you know, obviously we have very different opinions on this
we do.
which is
No,
great
and
because
I totally there were definitely some character moments that I thought were good, you know. But for me, it was just so overshadowed by some of the sloppiness of the episode that it really just removed me from really a lot of these more intimate moments that by themselves were good. You know, like, yes, I mentioned the interactions of the secondary cast, you know, how they did get a chance to shine here. Whether or not they should have even been left alive by Osiris, it doesn't matter, but they got to do their thing, you know. And yeah, I like the moment where Michael is, you know, communicating with Tilly, and Tilly kind of was able to kind of share her story with the rest of the bridge crew. So that was nice, but it was just like everything else that involved the episode just really took it out, you know, took me out of it.
yeah.
So I just had a hard time kind of enjoying it. By the end, it was just one big eye roll for me.
Got it. Well,
And yeah, again, you know,
and that's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's your opinion of it, and that's totally fine. There's
no,
nothing.
I was sad that I didn't like that. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there it is.
There we go.
So yeah, so that really wraps up. Do we have any other thoughts about the finale of season 3?
None of this episode. Next week we'll talk about Discovery season 3 as a whole, and we can kind of talk a little bit more about disconnection or connection and other themes we saw, and where our favorite characters start and where they finish, and maybe postulate what we hope for in season 4. And also we can go back and I'll go back and re-listen to our preview episode to see how many of the things that we asked for or wanted came to fruition. So I'll do that, and we'll follow that framework for our listeners as we kind of talk about the whole season. But then it's on to other things and other adventures for Deep Space Pride. But yeah.
I mean, there's plenty for us to talk about. We can have a bonus episode of Bridgerton, one about the Expanse for sure. Oh my god, the Expanse is so good.
Yes. And also
last week's episode, it was like riveting. It was like I told you, it was like literally visceral. It was like you could feel the pain. Like I was like, this is the acting is, it's like, it's so good.
Well, we'll come back to the Expanse when the season wraps up. Because we talked way long time about it on our last episode. Yeah. So that's Spilling the Trek for That Hope Is You Part 2. And how about we spend a few minutes in Deanna's office?
Sounds good. Let's go.
Come in. Hi.
You got a minute?
Sure.
So, what has been going on in your life? You started
I was going to ask you, but you beat me to it.
I did. What you started a new job, and I've heard a lot about it, but our listeners haven't. So
I talked about a little bit about it, like I think 2 episodes ago or last episode. It's good. It is keeping me very, very busy. They are, and the thing about agency life is that it's just like super fast paced. It's like I only watched a few episodes of Mad Men, but how they're kind of just like, they spend a lot of time kind of like just lounging and drinking. I don't know. Like I don't have time to lounge and drink sometimes. Like, you know, like I
Or
definitely
have lunch sometimes.
well, you know, once in a while it'll just be like a protein bar or something like that, you know. I'm just like, I don't know how you people did work. But it's just it's just very busy. I am on quite a few interesting accounts. Right now I can talk about it because I'm not revealing anything like proprietary, but I'm working on this account. It's a company called Beyond Limits. It's actually kind of interesting. But they are Beyond Limits is an I just started working on this account like 2 days ago. So if any of my clients are listening and I am botching the summary of describing what Beyond Limits does, I do apologize. But they are an AI company that works with multiple industries, but their specialty is in oil, oil and fuel. And one of the things that they do, and BP is actually like they're a startup, so they're like going through different series of fundings. But BP is actually one of the major investors, but they actually will work with, and they're not just oil. They work with many different industries, but their specialty is oil, and they work with oiling companies. I mean, this is how I understand it. To basically optimize through AI to optimize where they drill and how they drill. So they maximize efficiency and safety, you know, like prevent like oil spills, like things like that. So, you know, I think getting oil is, you know, it's a necessary evil for what we, you know, for the way that we, you know, live in today's world. But they actually kind of like use technology and AI to kind of optimize the way it's done. So it's actually kind of interesting, but I'm like, all right, that's new client. I'm also working on like my other clients. Like one is like a driverless car. Like I'm just like there's just like I'm just like going from like all these different clients from meeting to meeting, and I'm just like switching gears a lot. So it's like it's interesting. It's very different from what I did before. Mostly B2B. I think I mentioned that before, and it's like you know, new things for me to learn. It's great. The thing I will say is that my company is very much about Zoom, and we are a very Zoom heavy culture. So I've never like on my last job, I think we would have like probably one Zoom a week, like that's it. So I never would feel that I need to like, you know, put on like a button down and a decent shirt. I can just wear like a t-shirt or something like that. So now I need to actually, you know, we were just talking before, I hate ironing. So now I need to like, I'm like, oh no, I need to like iron my shirts again. I can't look disheveled, you know.
How's the adjustment been for sleep? I know you are a night owl and you've had to
It's
back up
okay.
your bedtime a little bit.
Yeah, you know, trying to get to bed around like 1:30 or so. Wake you up around like 7:30, you know, so trying to get 6 hours. Just, you know, 6 hours, 6 hours, you know. So, you know, it's coming along, you know. I'm starting to get used to it. Yeah, like I think it'll be better like spring and summer when I wake up at like 7:30 and the sun is out. Like right now it's still a little bit dark, you know. But I think once that rolls around, it'll feel better, you know. Because right now I'm working probably like I would say probably like 8:15, 8:30 to like 7 or so. So the days are a little bit long, but which is I'm okay with because it's just like, you know, it's like agency life, so it's not that not that unexpected. But I think having the sun out more, it's more like daylight outside would make it feel better, because right now it's like I wake up, it's like dark outside still, and then I'm done working, oh, it's so dark, you know. So so yeah, there's that. But yeah, starting to get used to it slowly but surely, getting there. Yeah. So there's work. There's my fish tank. My fish tank was having some issues. I got this one fish. It's a new fish actually, but it's like really shy. I spent $80 on this fish.
Oh my gosh.
$80 on this like 1-inch fish. It's called a yashagobi for our listeners who are into saltwater fish husbandry and know what I'm talking about. $80 is actually not bad for this fish. But it's a beautiful fish, but it is super, super shy. It's hiding, doesn't want to come out. I'm feeding it. It'll come out for a little bit of food. Like I need to like squirt the food like directly in its path and then I'll eat it. But it's just not coming out of this. It's a little hidey hole. And I'm like, oh man, it's like, is it ever gonna come out? Is it ever gonna come out? So, this is like one area that I definitely splurge. We'll see how long it survives. And I don't know. But yeah, $80 for one tiny 1-inch fish.
Wow.
That's more expensive than most sushi meals. So I know you're not into sushi, but that is a point of comparison. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm still like, we saw each other this past weekend. That was nice.
Yep. We took a drive out of the city and to Long Island for dinner to honor Dennis's mom who passed away in December.
Yeah, that was nice
for her birthday. So we went out to Maggiano's in Garden City.
Mm-hmm.
And we
all
had
you can eat Italian. I mean, it was pretty good.
It was, yeah.
I know we had a few issues, but honestly, the service was pretty good, and they literally kept on pushing food at us. Like,
they did.
I was like, because most all you can eat places, they're kind of stingy with the food, or you get a lot of rice or something. This place, she was like, "What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Take food home. Take food home." I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, right. Yeah, she was pushing food.
Like, she was like just giving us all the plastic containers and just telling us to pack stuff. I was like, "This is actually kind of amazing."
Yeah. The leftovers were still good the next day. I think we all enjoyed them for lunch or dinner the next day. So yeah, it was good to. It was nice to get out of the city and sit down in a restaurant. I guess this Friday we will find out what the future holds for New York City and restaurants.
Oh, wait, why?
Governor Cuomo is going to announce what the plan is for New York City. Yeah.
Oh.
So
okay.
We'll see what that entails. So yeah, we won't have to, we don't have to go. We haven't really gone outside and eaten, like sat out in these makeshift, some of them very nice, but they're still makeshift. They're still cold. Yeah, they're still cold.
There'll be like small enclosed spaces with heaters, but I actually went to eat with a friend, and it was a very nice setup. But they had a heater. It was still cold though. I was just like, it was just not comfortable. After a while, I was like, I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah, you're eating outside in the cold and it's like 20, 30 degrees and it's So,
after a while, it's just like, I don't need this in my life.
Yeah. So hopefully something happens along the lines of allowing some indoor dining in New York City, but I'm sure it will be very limited capacity.
I just feel sad for the restaurants. I mean, like Hell's Kitchen, like every other storefront's like closed.
Yeah. It's
very, very sad.
Yeah, it is. So
that's, I think, most of what's going on in my life. So basically work, fish tank, friends sometimes, and Bling Empire, which I'm not going to talk about because this is not off topic, but I'm watching Bling Empire.
Yeah.
I'm Asian, so it's relevant. Yeah. So what about you, Mike? What's going on in your life?
So I'm in the process of setting up a more permanent home office here at home because I will be remote until 2022.
Crazy.
Which our church is not going to go back in person probably until the fall anyway, or the rest of the staff. So, but my boss and I do not have a location for an office yet because we're doing some reconfiguration of spaces and construction, and so we do not have a spot yet. So I'm going to be home through the rest of this year. So I'm going to make a little bit more permanent setup for myself.
Did you buy your
So
standing desk yet?
I didn't. I was looking again last night at some different options, and I thought I had the measurement right that I wanted, and now the desks that I'm looking at are bigger than what I feel like. I don't want it to be too overwhelming in this space. So I'm still looking, and and I also came across a comparison of some different other ones. So I'm trying to balance value and price and simplicity of setup and all of those things. So
fascinating.
But yeah, so I'm doing that and doing some general organization, going through stuff in the home in order to make this new office space possible. So a lot of organization, reorganization, and also just going through clothes that and stuff that I don't need and use. So why keep it?
Yeah.
So yeah, so some slimming down and also some future office space. So yeah. Other than that, I've been running or walking really fast on the treadmill almost every day this week before 9:00. So that's been my goal, and so that's good. And yeah,
How are
I'm not real
How are things with Dennis?
good. Yeah, he's been working, and actually he's got the next 2 days off. So
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't do anything.
No, I mean I'm working, so it's sort of like it's different. It's different when he's home and I have to work from home. It's a little more distracting. So it's
Yeah, I understand.
I mean we have a good sized place, but it's not the TARDIS.
No, it's not the turbo lift shaft.
It is not the turbo lift shaft. I would love a space like that, but no, that is not what's happening here. Which is kind of funny because we were talking on a staff call today, just about how, because some of our staff have, or one of our staff has a family house upstate that's is really big, and they live here in Queens, and obviously not like a 3-bedroom apartment with but up there they have a lot more space. And so there's a discussion amongst a couple of people who've like lived or stayed in bigger spaces that there's a whole lot more yelling going on because you have so much space that people you get lost or whatever.
What a hard
So
problem to have.
yeah, so I thought that was kind of funny thinking about this apartment and how it's actually kind of hard when we're both home and I'm working and he's off, that we have kind of overlapping space, and it's you hear the TV on one end and in the office, so it's distracting. So when I do have the new office setup, I will most likely be using my noise canceling headphones a lot more as I work. Just to kind of on Dennis's days off, to be fair, he works really hard. He's a doctor, so he needs to kind of check.
A hard worker.
He needs to check out of life and watch some television, and so that's understandable. So yeah, so he does that, and that's a bit distracting in my normally quiet space while he's working and I'm working from home. So but I know couples and people who live in much smaller places than we do who have to manage this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how people do it. Like I'm just like
so
single life, my one bedroom with my fish,
Yeah. So
I don't know how people do it, honestly.
So yeah. So so kind of doing a little bit of that, trying to get things organized, and I bought a plastic bag holder. I just need to find a place to put it now. So
it stores plastic bags.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So yeah, just doing some organizational things in the apartment too. So
yeah,
silly things like that. So, but that's it for me. Yeah.
Well, no, that's a good life update. So keeping healthy, keeping busy,
Yeah.
Overall good. One thing that I will say about my schedule is that I don't have time to think about, for better or worse, I don't have time to think about like dating. I don't know if that's good or bad. But yeah, I still am swiping a little bit, but there are so many fake profiles. Like it's like really bad. Like I feel it's gotten worse. And I'll just match with these like fake people. I'm like, all right, obviously. Sometimes it's so obvious. Sometimes I'm like, I think this is fake. But now, like, even yesterday, there was like this guy I matched with on Coffee and Bagel, and he reached out. I didn't respond because I was kind of like, I was kind of busy actually, so I didn't even look. And then by the time I opened it, Coffee and Bagel already flagged him and was like, we've basically lost this conversation. We're waiting for him, like the other person, to verify their identity, and we'll unlock it once they do that. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh wow. So he's
Pretty
done something
hardcore.
done something to trigger something.
I don't know. I was like, that's really, or they have, or it's AI, and now they're getting smarter about trying to like filter out these randos.
Yeah. Which is good. I mean, but yeah, being single, I can't imagine being single and trying to navigate the dating space right now.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not tired. I am not tired.
Well,
I don't. It's like.
Well, maybe there's when we go out to Las Vegas for the convention.
Will that happen?
I think here's
When's
hoping.
It to be? August,
yeah.
And what is it called again?
I have no idea. I'm too confused.
It's nothing Star Trek related, even though it is a Star Trek convention, basically.
Yeah, I don't know the whole thing.
It can't be associated or something or other. I don't know.
Well, it's no longer associated with CBS, is what the.
Oh, so they can't use Star Trek in the name of it, right? Isn't that the thing?
No, I think they still can use it as a name.
I
think they can still. I don't know.
Are you sure?
I don't know. I have no idea. These things are all new to me, just
Viacom,
like you.
I feel Paramount, CBS, Viacom has
or Paramount Plus now.
Paramount Plus now,
or soon to be in another month or so.
It's just getting very like these IPs. They're just like holding on to them for like dear life. They don't want anyone touching their IPs. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they couldn't officially license the Star Trek name, and they had to like come up with some random like something or other.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we'll see. I'm sure we'll get more information as it gets closer and as the world kind of figures out what's going on. So
Vegas, I will say, have you been to Vegas?
I've been once to Vegas. Yeah.
No, it's kind of like depressing. It's like a depressing city.
Yeah.
At least when I went, because I think we spent way too much time in the casinos, and the casinos can get a little depressing.
Yeah, I didn't spend a lot of time in the casinos when I was out there. I was only out there for a couple of days, so
I was out for 3 days and it was enough.
So well, let's wrap it up here. Why don't you tell people how they can get in touch with us?
Yeah, so we would love to hear from you. We'd love to hear you chime in on your thoughts about the Star Trek Discovery finale. Do you agree with Mike? Do you agree with me? Do you agree with both of us? Neither of us? Who knows? We want to hear about it. You can email us at deepspacepride@gmail.com, or you can reach us on social media on Twitter and Instagram, and our handles there are just Deep Space Pride. So yeah, we want to hear from you, and maybe we'll even acknowledge you on the show if you say something. So
yeah, that'd be great. Cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We'll have a good week, and we'll see you here next week.
Bye-bye. Forever. For now.
Deep Space Space Pride is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.